Hey everybody, Rick of Bees Honey. I wanted to talk to you today about avoiding swarms by using a checkerboard method. It is March 5th here in Indian River County, and if you haven't already, you should be going through your hives trying to look for signs of swarm or an intent to swarm. One of the best ways to look for that would be to look for an abundance of drone brood. And I don't just mean, having some drone brood. I mean a lot of drone brood. Say a full one of these frames full of drone brood. And we use that actually as part of our IPM pest management program by adding an empty frame in here right before the spring buildup, letting the bees decide whether or not they're going to need some drone brood. And then we remove that frame and toss it, let the chickens eat it, let the raccoons eat it, whatever. And the varroa mite actually prefers the drone larvae because they have a longer incubation period inside the hive. So there'll be plenty of mites on that if you have any. That's where you're most likely going to find them. And by getting rid of that, you're going to decrease that mite population by a lot. So that's part of our pest management. Another video, I'll make sure I post that. So do make sure that you are liking and subscribe to our YouTube page here. Also check us out on Facebook if you want to post some questions in the comments, something you might like to see in the future. And do be sure to hit the bell at the bottom so you are notified of a new video, because this video here will have another follow-up when we go out and do this in the field. Thought today would be a little easier to show how we do the checkerboarding. Not out in the field. Sometimes it's windy, bees are flying around, makes a lot of noise. And I thought a little bit of instruction just here in the backyard would be a little helpful. So I've set up this medium box here and labeled the frames, so you can see we have a resource frame, one that's half of some brood, 4 in the middle, full of brood, another half of one, and a resource on the outside. So that's pretty typical frame. Sometimes these half brood ones on the outside. A lot of times if there's a good queen, those are full too. And I run deeps on the bottom, but this just happens to be what I had here, so I labeled this one. But this is what you'd be looking at. You open it up just so you can kind of see without there being actual bees in it. And so what we'd want to do to prevent the swarming would be to remove every other one and replace it with some drawn comb. If you have drawn comb, if not, just a frame with some foundation would be fine. But I'm going to set this up on its side so I can kind of show you. So we've got the resource, half brood, 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 half brood, resource. And what we would do, see these, is we have another box over here, and we'd head out to the bee yard, take the lid off, you open this up, and you're looking down in here, and you remove your first frame, full of nectar and pollen. Great resource frame. Slide them over. Taking a look at this one. This one, we'll say it's full of drone brood. This was my IPM frame, full of drone brood. I know that they're about to swarm, but it's full. And then she's filled this one, regular brood. This one's all regular brood. It's more good laying queen. She's filled up these 4 frames. They're full of brood. Beginning of March. No queen cells yet. Another one, this one's half drone brood and a little bit of pollen on the other side. And then we've got another frame with pollen and nectar. So we've got a lot of brood going on. Bunch of bees in this thing. Full. And more than a full frame of drones. So you don't want to take them all out. You want to take, a large number out if you can. Sometimes I'll even cut, 3/4 of it out and leave them a few drones and let them build another piece back just to get rid of some of that population of mites. So what we'd be doing is we'd have this here. I've taken these 2 out just as I was looking through the hive. I've got a resource and then that one full of drone brood. Remember, and we're going to toss that one to the chickens. So what we'd be doing is I would probably leave my resource frame in there since we're going to be stealing a bunch of others. And actually we'd have a nuke box. I don't have a nuke box over here, I grabbed one. Anyways, we'd have a nuke box with us also. So what we'd want to do is we'd have this resource frame, and I would take this one with brood out, stick that into the into the nuke. And then I would take one of my frames out of here. It's got some drawn comb. Put it in. Leave the brood. Have this other one. Drawn comb. Brood. Now I have one that's got half brood and some resource on it. I may choose to leave that one and remove this other brood frame. So if I was usually when I do this, I've already got queens going. We raise our own queens. Sometimes we buy queens, and we would be making some walkaway splits. So we would be taking these two with brood out, putting them in the nuke box, and throwing a queen in there, or equalizing some hives. We do that a lot. Add them to a weak hive. So now we have another brood, half a brood and resource. We'll stick that one in there. So we now have, tip this up so you can see it again. So we moved two with brood, one half brood. These two over here we moved half brood. And now our box reads a resource, so nectar, pollen. You want to make sure you're going to leave pollen in there. They're going to need the pollen. Frame that's half brood, maybe has a little bit of drone brood in it. The rest is capped worker. Now we've got our empty frame. Brood again, another empty frame, brood, empty frame, resource, checkerboarding, every other one, you know, and that gives them space. You really want to do it if you have drawn comb on the frames, adding a whole, you know, that many, adding 3 frames in there that are just foundation without a strong nectar flow coming in. They're not going to build those out real quick. You may have to feed them, you know, a half gallon of sugar water or something to get them to draw the frames out if you don't have drawn comb already, but I would suggest putting drawn comb back in there. And then put the lid on it and put them away. Now, you've done this before the queen cells happen. In my opinion, once the queen cells show up inside your hive, you have you missed it. They are in full swarm mode by the time you get those queen cells in there. Now you can take the queen cell out. If you were to open this and we found a queen cell, I would add it to these 3 frames that were going into the nuke. I would make sure that the ones with the queen cells also went in there, but sometimes that's not enough. Once they've produced those cells, they a lot of times will swarm anyways, but this will help. They can knock it down, but checkerboard them out, close it up, let her build that up. You don't have to do so heavily every 3 frames. You could put in 2 new frames. You just want to remove some of that brood to give them some more space, and then this would go into that nuke. If you were going to build that nuke, you would take this full box, move it to a new location, take your nuke, put it in its place. That way the returning field bees are now going to feed the nuke, and the queen that's in here will continue to lay and produce, and hopefully you've curbed that need to swarm. Now the next video, I'm going to show you out in the field how we're going to pick and choose, and how what the brood frames kind of look like, and how we determine which ones we're going to pull and which ones we're going to leave in the box. But that's the gist of it. It's pretty simple, and it will save you some bees. You will be able to make honey in this box. You won't lose all your bees to the neighbors or laying in a tree somewhere. And it's a pretty simple way to do it. Just gotta save your drawn comb and use it wisely. Make sure again that you're liking and subscribe to the page, and hit that bell button. That way you get to follow up on the next one here. Thank you all for paying attention. Have a good rest of your day.